on so that they can very easily transfer it. And then they can make sure that their doctors all send it to the same account logged into their phone so that multiple don't get created and there's no confusion.
So this is our website right here.
We haven't really changed it much since
Okay,
the last
so,
time.
okay, so just show me what you've changed.
And
to it.
then, the only thing we changed really was the about us,
Yeah.
Okay,
where we added more details
Okay.
on who we are.
okay.
And then, our prototype for our app, which
I'm gonna go ahead and
Okay.
right to.
What? Yeah.
okay.
You know what I would do, add to it, Kelly, is, I think it'd be good, to screencast your PowerPoint.
Okay.
Do you want it to be here?
Let me think.
That one is capturing the.
Yeah, okay. Are we seeing, or are we getting clear? Oh, that's getting better.
Is, do you want me to try the mic?
Yeah, trying to, see.
I was gonna like
Oh.
change my brightness.
Yeah, change your brightness.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, cool. So this is our app.
You see
That one is
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. So what did you
So this
use?
is our, so we use, Mobile Cube, or Mobile Lens.
It's not
Mobile
even
Mobile
this
Cube.
is our name.
What?
So this is kind of like a, I've been doing group chats. Sorry. So this is like a prototype for, okay, so this is kind of,
Return your notifications off.
I did, yeah, but it's just like, okay, so this is an, prototype for our, app. So the prescriptions would come up here and you could like click that, and there's gonna be ads on there. But your prescription would come up and then, you can show this to your pharmacist, no matter what pharmacy you're going to. And then there's pharmacy, and you have the option of using your normal pharmacy, so then, it'll go straight to your pharmacy and it will allow you to do refills just straight from your phone, other than just calling it in. So this would be an example, it goes to like your, CVS account,
Right.
and then,
So who worked on this?
well, yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of built it up.
Give credit to her, yeah.
So,
Nice job.
thank you. So then there's also like a search, so like let's say if you're in a different area, you could search for a local pharmacy. And so something like this, more detailed, would come up. And then there's also pharmacy and savings. So like
Okay.
another thing that we really want to push is like, because of, with like the medical crisis we're going on, and like how much drugs are for each
Mhm.
person, we wanted to like include savings. So based on like the prescriptions you have, like certain savings would come up
Very nice.
available for you.
So you need to put this down, too, Kelly, she needs to basically screencast this to be able to, capture this, that we can see it. Cause we're not gonna be able to get to her app. I'm gonna take a picture of it.
So those are like the basics
Yeah.
of our app.
Okay.
So another thing we had was our competition.
Okay, so let's just go quickly through this, cause I wanna see the other group.
Okay,
Okay.
the competition we have is GoodRx and PocketRx.
Okay.
GoodRx is kind of, they don't provide the same service in the ways of refilling your prescriptions, but they do provide the same service in the ways of finding the lowest price, which is not our main objective, but it is something. And then PocketRx, again, you cannot have your doctor directly send it to you, but it is trying to be a one-stop, all-you-can-access, just get all of your information on one spot. But still, they're missing the element of having your doctor be able to send you a barcoded, confidential prescription that you can hand over to a pharmacist.
Let's go.
And so our business model would be like we would partner with pharmacies and clinicians to have a central page for the patients to use. We would use ads, or we would have a low paywall for membership, but we would ask clinicians and pharmacists to provide payment for their membership so they could be featured on our app.
You may also wanna think about here, add to it, Kelly, also insurance companies. Cause the insurance companies are also wanting to bring down their costs in terms, we get that.
what's next is like promoting our app so that physicians and pharmacies, use it, and so that we like build like a customer base on it. And then we're also thinking about making it like more interactive between the pharmacist and the patient and adding like a feature that allows the, pharmacy to send you like a notification when your prescription is ready to be filled and stuff like that.
So you have to work with them because they're
Yeah.
doing some of that now, you know, all those notifications, so you have to figure out a way in which, you know, almost those areas in which you can do. And that's why you almost can even put this in, almost that connection again with that CVS and Aetna Health.
We can.
You know what I mean, of combining it, cause here you got the insurance company and here you have the CVS doing it, okay, all right?
And then limitations would be like, there are like smaller pharmacies, like
Yeah.
mom and shop pharmacies that aren't exactly as technologically advanced, let's say your CVS or your Walgreens. So just be having to like try and figure out how to partner with them, because we wanna have the widest reach possible.
Mhm.
And a lot of people use like those smaller pharmacies because they wanna support their communities. And another thing would be pharmacies and physicians might be hesitant to try something new, especially how some will have like certain physicians will just have partnerships with CVS directly, so they can send things there directly. But it's not always the best because not all patients will be on like CVS. There's some that use like Sam's Club and some that use Walmart or other places. So just be more connected with everyone.
Okay, next, very good. All right, can you bring it back so we can get the next group closer to me?
Go to the website, Alto, A-L-T-O, like Palo Alto. No, I'm not here, but I'm saying, go check it out. I had a friend who started that company in San Fran, and they essentially got rid of the middleman. And it kind of became a pharmacy that only came to deliver everything to the house. So the doctors will send their prescriptions to them, and they deliver.
The only thing that we see is maybe, no CVS and no those, I think they copy it from what they do, they deliver it.
Just hit everything
Okay.
in corporate, which,
Okay, just because we're running out of time, show me what you're doing new,
okay.
because we've seen a lot of your stuff.
Okay,
Do you want us just to show you the app straight forward?
where's our,
Okay, is that,
great, awesome. Okay, well,
Okay.
I guess we're improving today since we're having issues with the presentation.
you meant, well, we all have issues, so don't worry about it.
That's why?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay,
Okay.
so our app is called South Florida ER Now. It's localized to South Florida, to their hospitals. Are you sure?
Okay,
Okay, so
okay, we got that,
Yeah.
let's go.
okay,
Yeah, I think
so-
she just wanna go straight to the app.
Yeah,
Do you wanna go to our app?
Yeah.
yeah, let's go, because we know what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it's just saving ER time, every hospital ratings, reviews.
Just talk about our app. Talk about
Okay.
our
So what did you use?
Marvel app.
Okay,
It's very easy to use.
okay, so you wanna put that on your, as group 5, that you want, you also wanna have a section of reviewing your app. Did group 4, did you take a picture of what I did? So everybody did the same thing of taking a picture, okay.
Okay, so this is our hypothetical app.
Okay.
For this app, you would need to enable location access since it's gonna help you, what's the word? Find the nearest hospital near you so that you can like decipher which ones are close and which ones are far when deciding where to go. So,
Oh, this is nice. Who did this?
She did everything.
so, basically
Very
we
nice.
have this scroll screen with local South Florida hospitals. Obviously, you know that Baptist has a bunch of
Right.
emergency rooms.
Right.
There's Jackson, Mercy, UHealth.
Yeah.
Basically everything here in Miami-Dade County and a little bit probably in Broward County.
Okay.
And as you can see, what we have here is we have the name of the hospital, the
How
wait
far?
time,
Very
and then
nice.
how far it is from you.
Okay.
So like, you could decide like, oh, maybe I should go to one with a lesser wait time, but it might be a little bit further.
Okay.
So, and then we have this featured option right here. We talked about in our business model, possibly having sponsorships.
Mhm.
So like some, certain health system would pay extra money to be like maybe featured on the top, even though their wait time isn't the lowest. Like for
Okay.
example, Baptist would have a lower wait time, so that's the featured option. So you would click on the hospital you're interested in, you'd get some details, you'd get, hours of operation, current wait time,
Very nice.
address, how many miles away it is, phone
And then
number.
and your directions and your.
Website, it works. If I click it, it'll take me there.
Okay.
The ratings, there's a satisfaction rating, like how patients are satisfied with their healthcare. And there's also a wait time accuracy rating, meaning like, is the wait time that you see the probable how, are you actually gonna get inside?
And is that link gonna be available afterwards, or that's gonna expire, or what?
What do you mean?
You-
The link to the
Well,
app?
the thing is, I do have to log, this is a free trial, so I don't think I'm able to let you use it without. my
Okay,
login
so
information.
go ahead and do the same thing, is screencast it. So
Okay.
put screencast, everybody screencast your presentation.
And
Because then later on,
there's
you
also
don't see it,
yeah.
you understand? So you have it as documentation.
They're all in there. So yeah, we have also
Urgent cares.
urgent, we would also look to expanding this app, to urgent cares possibly, and then also for pediatrics, like pediatric departments within the ERs, because those are all different. Also, in addition to this page, we have Yelp reviews, so if I click this, it would take me to the Yelp page, and also the ability for you to rate this emergency room.
Okay.
And then finally, we have the Rate Us page. How many stars does our app deserve? We get 5. Thank you for your feedback. Contact us,
Very nice,
and that's our app.
very nice, very nice. Okay, next. Can you do me a favor and bring back our group? No, bring back, go back.
Go back to the correspondence.
What do you wanna see? The app, the PowerPoint?
Yeah, so let's go.
I got literally 4 minutes.
Okay,
I'm really sorry, I gotta go. to
okay,
class.
5 star. Okay. Are you the last group?
I think so.
Good.
That's a good.
So show me what's new.
Well, we did our app.
Okay,
So
you
just
see
go to
how-
the flow so that we don't have to like. Yeah. So I went ahead and screencasted it already.
Okay,
I still
okay,
have
great.
a few things to finish, but like
Okay,
that's our app.
very nice.
Going. I'm gonna go quick.
Okay, great.
I don't know. So basically, you can be anonymous or
Everybody-
public.
And do you have, besides your screencast, do you have audio on this?
No, I don't.
Okay, folks, when you do the screencast, do audio as well.
It's not. I have like 2 more slides
Yeah,
to do, so it's not.
right, but I'm saying, so just add, additional audio.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So basically, it's just an app to.
And you did this, who did this?
I did this.
Okay.
It's an app to talk to either your peers about like what problems you're dealing with, or if you upgrade to premium, which we talk about it in the PowerPoint. One of the issues will be getting therapists and psychologists to join on and want to participate because obviously mental health is covered by insurance, but apps aren't covered necessarily. And then one of our other problems is getting the community to be involved because if people aren't on it, then there's going to be no one for like
Yeah.
that one person to talk to.
Yeah.
But then we have different surveys, like I think it just went through the demographic survey, so we can sell the data that people put into that to advertisers and stuff. And then there's a personality survey that if you have like a therapist or something on here, they can look at that. And then it's about to go to, you can also put in your healthcare information. And I'm just putting in like a review page and an upgrade to premium page, and that's it.
Okay, so how are people gonna then communicate? They're gonna communicate with the outside, they're gonna be using it via text, they're gonna be.
Yeah,
using
it's
it-
like a texting thing. I kind of like zoomed through it.
No,
so-
but it's gonna be texting.
Yeah.
And they also do, if they want video or no?
That was like something like that we're looking to do next. Was we were thinking that like if you want, you could like kind of an AA-esque thing where you could decide to meet up with the people you've been talking to.
Or, right, or even just voice maybe
Mhm.
after a text. Sometimes you do it or somebody wants to do it, so you may wanna do it, okay?
Yeah. I don't know if you want it, but it's,
What?
we're about to have time out, but if you want us to go through the PowerPoint.
Yeah, well, show me what's new that I need to respond to. Is there anything,
Well, we want to partner, you sent us like on the website.
You bought?
What was it called?
yeah.
Yeah. So that it kind of eliminates the issue of like needing the therapist and stuff, because if they don't sign on, then we can partner with them and it can all.
No,
be
I think that's what you should look at, is find those already bots and those kind of things, that it's not a replacement, but it's an addition. So, and even in the article, they mention other, apps that are using that are speaking, so I would see that it's you, but then reaching out to others to be as a, almost like a group that they can evaluate, you know?
Yeah. And then we have our website too.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I need to
Yeah.
I need to go.
Right, so we, all of us, yeah, okay,
Do you wanna?
Do you wanna like, I don't know.
real quick, what is new here? Show me just what's
The only
new.
thing I added was the media. I think you've seen all the rest of the
Yeah,
group.
right.
So it just shows like, you know, who's talking about us, the news,
Okay,
and it has their like little blurbs on what they said.
okay,
And then we also have like, I think you added like, you can click on something that'll take you to
So,
an
to the app,
interactive
yeah.
app.
okay.
So there's a link to the app in the homepage, so if you want to just download the app, you can go through the app.
And then, go ahead.
Funding, there's several ideas for funding, I mean, you have the premium service, but then you could also, the data that you
Yeah, just selling the data to advertisers and
Yeah,
stuff.
but I can just really think about it even in the way that this can be another area as a supplement to those people that are doing mental health. And then you can basically, maybe as a possibility that they can help fund it.
Yeah,
You know, there's other mental health facilities
yeah.
that are helping, and they say, hey, this is another app, so you can put that in as well. Okay, very nice. Okay, so you got that, everybody has it, okay?
Can I show you my app before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can enlarge it.
Are we watching this?
So we go to the, so this is where like the automatically go like the,
I think we got
It's like all over wellness center.
so take you to a web browser, whatever, enter your location, and go, I'm doing Miami for now. Okay, so you wanna go to projects, it takes you to this homepage. The location, hours, contact, whatever, you can click on the contract, or no.
And these people are going to be
Pokeball, it'll automatically take you there, where you can and our vision, this is where you can read our testimonials, our features. This is kind of like, explain what we're all about, you can click this directly there, and it'll take you right to the camera. Obviously, it's not set up to camera, so I can't see that much. Then there's two options, one you can take you to this screen, which is the results of actual preview selected, or then you can click here for more options, and it'll take different, it'll like show you different options of what you can do with that.
Yeah, we got a couple of suggestions.
Took you so long to do that.
You know?
I will when it's done. It's like, you do one thing wrong and it screws it up. Thank you, no, I appreciate it. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then
But
if you
then,
go,
and that's why it'd be nice to screencast it, because then you really can describe it, and put this as the
yeah, but I don't think
screenshot.
I'm gonna be able to give access to like.
Yeah, right. No, but then they can hear about what you wanna do in the future,
emergency
your
healthcare
voice,
schools at
and
any
to do
cost.
some
So
of the things
basically,
like you've
we're
done
looking
before,
for
remember
Yeah,
we did
yeah,
the
I will.
screencast.
Even I did it
Do-
myself.
Right,
So, like,
you
even
understand, and then do
like 5 o'clock in the
for
morning,
this, and then have
was
your
it-
voice
it
in the
was really
background,
bad, so
and if
we
you
went to
want
the
some other
hospital,
people
and they were
in
like,
your
this is a
group,
flu,
then they
but
can
the reason
explain
we're
as
keeping it
well,
because my
you know,
blood
the
pressure
different.
was like
So then here's the health
188
blog,
over
you can click
80,
on two
and
different
this is
things.
really
This was where the
abnormal, and it was
exercise
like
part
that
comes into
about,
play, this will be
like, 2
updated
3
accordingly,
hours
you can
ago.
literally
So it was
type your
just
name and it'll
like,
submit it to
it
you.
was
Right, so
high
that's
for
what
like
you
5
want.
You can go
hours.
back to the other one, here's
Then
the
it
other
went
one.
down, like,
So this can actually be, you can really see a lot of.
I
then
didn't
you
have
add
headaches
a
during
lot of
that,
those
but right now I
people
do have
that
like
can
some headaches
add
here, but that it
additional-
was because of the
Exactly.
infection.
So it'll be
You
a
ever
way
had
for it to
mental
like stay up to date, and then
No,
register
but high
concerns,
blood
same thing,
pressure
your
is
email,
in
you can
my-
register.
Right.
And then I
Do you have a
think that's
doctor here
about all I
soon?
have right now.
No, but like after,
You should be proud of
to have the
yourself.
help here.
Yeah, no, I do, right, really, and you can use it for other
I went
things.
there, but they
No,
were
seriously,
closed.
this is literally taking
Go
2
there.
and a half days.
You know, but you can be proud, you can have a small, and you can show it to someone
Oh,
that they're having, you know,
because
because
last time
even
they
with the
took it,
website,
they
they look
was
nice,
132,
but
and they were
really
like,
what's
you were-
now
the
gonna
stress
be is
was
everybody
going on,
wants
it was
that,
like,
you know,
add
you
files,
need
add
to
the
have a
proposals,
mobile,
add all this,
digital
everything, add
presence.
it all in
So,
one. That was
so
good
now
anyway,
you,
because
but
I
now
couldn't
you wanna
sleep,
screencast
and my
that,
nose was completely
and you wanna
blocked, so I
upload
couldn't
the,
breathe.
this is your
So,
screencast, and you can even
just go get it.
introduce
Yeah,
it,
they come
as you
with
can even say, this is
I'll see
your
you
name,
on
and then you
Monday.
can even put other people, congratulations again.
So as long as I do screencast, that'll be sufficient for you to be able to understand the app, right? Because I'm obviously.
I have to.
now.
Right, no, you want it screencast, so then later on, I can go back, you know, go back, and it's also for you, that later on, you say, what have I done? Go for it.
Just
What's
so
your
much,
major?
you need to be Google.
Mine?
Yeah,
Economics. It's like
Okay.
I'm trying to go to well, I don't care.
well, right, so I'm just saying, so you have something to show, right?
Yeah,
What have you
no,
done
exactly.
different versus everybody else that has a degree,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Ten
I
times
agree.
over.
Is it okay for me to stay in the back?
For-
Because
Right.
we need to meet at 6.
Okay,
You want
or
me to
you,
leave?
or, you know, let's do
I
it on
don't
Monday. Is next Monday okay?
Monday. So how about this? What do you exactly want me to do? If it's like grading papers and all that, I can just take them home and bring them back to you for like
Yeah,
Monday.
but I wanna do, but let's do this, well, I wanted to do some other things in terms of, phone number, either that, or let's do it on,
Next Wednesday work because next Tuesday I have a final on genetics.
well, let's do this, let's do it next Monday after this class.
You tell me whatever you
For-
want to do,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
right, right.
I'll finish it by the after Wednesday,
Yeah,
and then I give it to
yeah,
you.
right,
from
and then
your
we can
office.
even work in the break, okay, so let's do it on Monday.
Dr. Richard, I have a quick
Yeah.
question. Is the group project that we're doing, is that weighted more heavily than the test that we've taken?
Look in the course syllabus, but it probably will be added, do you want it more or what?
I mean, I didn't do that on the test, but I'm.
Okay, so hopefully we'll add it, and then also group participation,
Yeah.
group participation in class, and also do this part with your,
Screencast. Oh, no, of course,
yeah.
I'll do that today, but,
Right.
okay, so then the app is good, other than that?
very, but explain it, you know.
No, I will,
explain-
I'll go into more detail.
Yeah.
I did not do a class.
So,
Alright,
do you
take
want me
it.
to buy another cap, a different one, not used, but a different one, because he bought the first one and it's kind of my responsibility to buy another one and I add it to the website, because I feel like we can keep this website even after this thing is where I can buy the
Yeah.
website and then you name it, and then we can use this as your project.
Right, we can do that. Yeah, if you can find some things that we need to do, I sent out an email to, Fridays are good, you send another email to that, Trina that was here,
Trina?
you know, the woman that was here from the neuroscience.
The lady that was modernizing medicine, okay.
No, not moderating, the neuroscience that she.
Okay, sure.
And asked that we wanted to have, see if we can come visit. I told her on a Friday, we wanted to.
This Friday?
Or
Maybe
another
next
Fri-
week?
Next week, maybe we can do something. But
I'll
anyway,
email them and then I'll CC you.
okay, CC me, and then also if you want to get another one.
Yeah, because I feel like, I
Yeah,
think.
but you have to get it soon, no?
Oh, we can do that like during the break, like
Okay,
since it's gonna be a
okay.
long project.
Okay, but see
I
what
wanna
you want
do
to
it-
do, and see what,
I'd like-
when you can return it and so forth.
Oh, sure, I mean, I think I wanna keep it.
Probably won't have to be able to do
You
more.
want me to erase the board?
That would be a way.
What?
Well, this is gonna be delegated
Yeah.
now, so we can work on it our own pace.
Can you be so kind and just check to see if
I wish we
these
had a
are
list and like which one we have to do as a whole.
We have to,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is 20 minutes.
Is it live?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
perfect.
do
What about
anything
that
related
one
with
over there?
attitude so far.
Yep.
I like your idea.
Okay, I'll see you on, Monday.
Yeah, ciao.
Oh.
That helps. This is something like horrible.
Well, it's like all new for me, so.
I just don't like the ones that say 20 minutes and they end up taking 2 hours.
I was like, if you're prepared, I'm like, well, I'm definitely not prepared.
Yeah.
I don't have any of these things downloaded. You know, Professor.
How are you?
Doing well.
Looking good. Okay, folks, welcome back. Eraser here somewhere. Anybody see it on there? Okay, so today is December 6th. What we'll be discussing today in class is security maintenance. We'll also be discussing new technologies, for cybersecurity. And we have, what group is presenting? Do we have, did you guys gonna present?
Yeah, 320.
320, and then we have a lab presentation. Who else is presenting? Are you the only group? Are you presenting, your group? No, okay. So we have a lab presentation. We have a exam for December 13th at 5 p.m. in this room. We'll cover today. We'll have on December 11th. We'll do a review. And then I'll cover also the cybersecurity fundamentals. With the ASACA. And what you need to emphasize there in terms of the ASACA presentation. You have the quizzes online. Let me get to them. Right, so you should have 12. I also put in, remember last time we went over the incident, the difference between event and incident report. So I put those questions. Remember we talked about crisis events. These were the questions that we went over last time, and I put those up for you to look at. Okay, so you have those available that you can have for review. This was part of the ASACA fundamentals. This is from chapter 12. So who is supposed to present? Let's start with the presentation of the lab, and then we can I can continue my lecture. So what did you want to?
Can I just need like 30 seconds. I just gotta upload a picture to the.
Yeah. So go ahead and load that up. Let me bring up the ASACA while he's doing that. Under course documents, you go to ASACA materials. And go under the fundamentals. for the next part of the exam, let me just show you. What to emphasize in here will be section 4, 5, and 6. And if we look at section 6, we've already talked about the incident categories, we've talked about the incident response and incident recovery. If on module 6 of the SACA materials, basically what they're looking at is what we call a threat landscape. And what is it's referred to sometimes as what the threat environment is, what are the collections of my threats. And now what's happening is we're having the whole idea of mobility cloud computing. And why are we more vulnerable in some ways with cloud computing, or how is it different cloud computing than our traditional way of looking at security and cybersecurity?
Because it's not local.
It's being stored, right, in other, I'm using their servers. So when you think about it, on one end you're thinking, depending on my provider, what, supposedly they're gonna take care of the security, but I'm vulnerable on that end. And what else is it could be those types that I'm dealing with the cybersecurity. Think about banking, right? If I were a hacker, who would I want to go after, you or a bank? The bank, right? So there are a lot more sophisticated hackers going after those folks. And think about something like that, right? Even the Equifax, right? What did they want? They wanted to be able to get, 100 million people rather than what did they have on your account, one bank account. So this is becoming much more cloud computing, that social media. Think about all the social media. Think about every social media you're using. What are you doing? You're using cloud services. And basically think about it, tracking your whole environment. Where's your whole environment about your whole profile is what along social media. So basically you can think about it is 3 ways. One is financial gain. So we talked about ransomware. We also talked about ideas of gaining access. We talked about intellectual property, that I can do espionage against one company versus the other. And now, of course, we're even hearing about politics, right? That we're basically thinking about hacking in terms of political areas, and that's where we're getting that threat landscape. So here, basically, they're talking about that landscape of now, where I'm going to look at, let me just make this a little bit larger that you can see. Is they're becoming, because it's cloud, they're becoming much more sophisticated than they were doing before. I'm having large concentration of data. What's good about large concentrations of data? What's good about AWS? What's AWS?
Amazon Web Services.
Right. Amazon Web Services, right? If I go to Amazon Web Services, let's go to there. I do AWS. Right. Notice when it's interesting too. Notice when I type AWS in Google, what comes up first? By the way, what comes up first? IBM Cloud, right? It's not IBM. So basically they say, hey, I'm going to compete and what is it? This type of thing is what? It's an ad, right? So it's dealing with ads here that IBM basically paid a lot more, and who's number 2 is Amazon, right? And then who's number 3 is Azure. So they know that this is the target I want to get to, right? They know that this is what I want to get to, and you can think about a subsidiary of Amazon, Amazon Web Services, and their number 2, number 3 is Azure, and these combined with Google don't even come close to what Amazon Web Services is. If I go to Amazon Web Services, those cloud computing services, look what the first thing they're telling me is machine learning on AWS, right? The next compute here, Alexa for business, introduce Alexa to your organization with tools to manage devices, users, and skills. Is Alexa susceptible? How?
Listen in.
What?
Listen in.
No, right, it's an IoT, right? So it's bad enough they're listening to my silly conversations at home, right? But if we have it in they're trying to do it in the boardroom, organize tools for managing devices, users, and skills. You think about what it is. Amazon, in this case, what are they saying? Video streams, captures, and stores video streams for analytics and machine building. Build AR and VR applications. Announcing Amazon MQ managed message brokerage service for Apache. And if you look at their products, this is what I'd like to, let me just bring this down. This is their products. So everything's on the web, everything's on the cloud. So basically I can do all my computing now. I can get rid of basically a lot of people on premises on the IT. And what are we doing? We're shifting to the cloud, that whole disruption basically of the traditional IT. And we're shifting to the cloud. And we can see here in the cloud, it says compute. So what does that mean? Everybody see what I'm talking about? Go to, basically you can go to aws.amazon. You can see it yourself. And my question to you is, what does this mean? And what implications does this have for security? What's compute? So type it in, Google it. What's compute? Yeah.
Like building virtual machines and stuff.
Basically, what do I need? With big data, what do I need? I need storage, right? And what else do I need? I need CPU, right? What's CPU? It's my processing, right? So I need my processing. So you can think about my processing. Many times when I'm doing large data applications, what do I need? A lot of times if I'm talking about billions of records or millions of records, what can make it fast is large computing. Many times I have different projects, and what I can do is I can expand or I can contract based on the hardware I need. Traditionally, what did I have to do? I had to buy large, either I had to do cluster machines, take a number of machines and cluster them together to have all those CPUs work as one, or what else? Or I had to buy large machines, and what happens after I finish the project? And what's going to happen in 3 years from now or 2 years from now? What? It's going to depreciate, and is there going to be anything better? So people are saying, companies are saying to themselves, it makes sense. It's almost like on demand. It's almost like renting my computing power. It's an incredible business, really, when you think about, when you traditionally thought about Amazon, what did you think? They're starting to sell books, right? And why are they so profitable, and why are they really such a big force? Is they basically took that learning incentive of what they did for all of their data and created these data farms and say, why don't we do it for everyone else? And basically, this is where they're getting the bulk of their profits. Even though you can see in the retail sector, right, everybody, all of Amazon sales and Cyber Monday and things like that, those traditional bricks and mortar, but you can see this is where it is. So this compute area is basically different ways in which, you see the word elastic there? What does elastic mean? What does elastic mean?
Where is it? Flexible.
Elastic. That is, elastic, what do you think about when you think of elasticity?
Yeah, it's expandable.
Expandable. So it's the idea they're saying, hey, you need 10 processors, you need 4 processors.
Okay.
So basically what they're saying, we'll give you a machine that we can be elastic throughout your machine. And notice here, what else are they having here? They have storage. So basically my different file systems that I can get to based on, I don't even have to buy additional storage here that I'm going to do. Notice what it says here, what word it's using.
Elastic.
Elastic as well, right? That in CPU, I'm going to be elastic. Storage, I'm going to be elastic. And then I can have my database management systems. Instead of running them on premises, right, I can do my databases. And RDS stands for what? Relational. And then I can have dynamic. And now, what's wrong with relational? Databases. Who's taken a database course? You've taken one. What's a relational? Okay, what's a relational database?
Just basically it talks about like different relations. So.
What's a relational database?
No, so like basically like the 2 databases, they're connected by a certain attribute, and you basically take, so like say you have a database with like basically it says like houses and whatnot.
Whatnot, okay.
And basically if you have like the staff in a different database and you just have staff.
Okay, what's a relational? All relational databases it's basically flat tables, right? Just think about like a sheet, right? If I think about a relational database, everybody know Excel, right? And if I think about Excel, what does Excel have? It has records, right? I have rows, and I have columns that are attributes, right? And basically what I want to do, traditionally relational databases is, when was relational databases invented or basically used? Maybe 40 years ago, 50 years ago. You think things have changed a bit in computing, right? So basically what relational databases via what we call SQL, right, which is what? SQL or a structured query language. Right? Then I'm able then to take these attributes and be able to query, make queries to these tables. Are these tables predefined?
No, you gotta define.
I have to define, but once they're defined, before I do a query, do they have to be defined? Before I do a query? Yes. Right? I have to do it beforehand. There's something called NoSQL. What's that? Anybody who's heard of it? What is it?
I've just heard of it.
Okay, you've heard of it. At a bar or what? Where do we hear about it? Okay, so what is it? So what are you sitting here for? Huh? NoSQL. No? What does it sound like? SQL is a structured query language that I'm going to be querying. It's basically unstructured. Beautiful. That's what we need to think, right? Unstructured. Is it newer than SQL? Yes. And what's new now about data that we didn't have? Do we have more data now or less data? More data. Do we have areas in which is it easier to get data now or less easy? It's easier, right? You can get data. What's the problem is to make what? Is to make any insights about our data, right? In trying to make any insights of data, what's new in our data? Is it usually just flat fields? Flat tables. What is in the data? Basically, what am I going to say? That this is going to be, basically this is going to be something, this will be like name, right? First name, last name, address, city, patient number or whatever, customer number or whatever. What do I have now in my data? Do I just have like strings of data? What's new? think about social media? Besides pictures, what do you have? You have images, right? Anybody ever post any images? Anybody ever look at any? What else do you have in social media?
Like statuses, text statuses,
And what else?
Comments.
And what else?
personal information.
Okay, what else? You have video?
Yeah.
Can I just put a video here?
Any kind of file,
Huh?
just any kind of file.
Any kind of file. So what's the problem here in this idea? And do I know a lot of times ahead of time what my query is going to be? Things change quite quickly. So what NO or that no SQL has come about, and they say, listen, number one, it's going to be not, in this case, it's going to be expanded. It's going to be in ways in which on the fly or on demand I can make queries. And my data is going to be, basically I can use video that's in now. And think about the video. What do people want to know in the future about video? Not just the name of the video, but what? The content of the video, right? Voice to text, text to voice, what else? What are people going to be using in security for video? People use video security in video?
Like uploading or downloading.
Okay, uploading, downloading, what else are doing? The security firms. Go to the airport. What are they now going to be using video for? Identify, face recognition. Anybody hear about that, right? So when, in terms of face recognition, what are they going to do? They're going to look at motion. A lot of times now they have a company called NICE. What are they doing now? They are looking basically and predictive if a certain person is looking a certain way, acting a certain way, are there characteristics of terrorists versus non-terrorists before they're going to blow up, after? Did you remember that pair, what was it in Belgium? They had these guys, these two guys, right? And they had the gloves on and they had their hat and they came in with these heavy suitcases, right? And then they're walking in, right? And they blew up the whole airport in the front. Well, are there certain characteristics that you could have seen beforehand, before they entered the airport? Those characteristics, they're using a lot of those video and the video identification using something like this. Databases, and look what they call this here, dynamo. What do you think that means? Like dynamic. What do you think this is? Elastic, right? And so you can see here the migration systems. You see here on the developer tools, the number of developer tools, I don't need it. Media services. Notice here media, right? Media live to do it, video streams, transcoders. Then you have an area of analytics, trying to do with the elasticity of my analytics, security, identity, and compliance. So within the cloud, what people are concerned about, and they come to somebody like Amazon, and they say then, what kind of services can you give in terms of security, identity, and compliance? So cloud security at AWS is the highest priority. As AWS customers, you will benefit from a data center network architecture built to meet the requirements of the most sensitive organizations. AWS Cloud provides you with a platform to scale and innovate while maintaining a secure environment. You only pay for the services that you use, meaning that you can have a security you need, but without the upfront expenses and at lower cost than in on-premises. So you can see here that what they know is they better do this, and notice what they have: encryption, access management, securing regulated workloads. Can you imagine what somebody can do in order to get it? So here it's basically, look at their types. You had no clue, did you? How many products AWS and then the other competitors have just for security. And notice here is basically for compliance documents known as auditing. Basically what people are saying is if I'm in banking, I'm in healthcare, the key here is I am run by rules that I have to abide by in order to be in business. HIPAA regulations requires me, if I don't abide by those regulations, I'm out of business. Banking relies on certain criteria. So what they have is you can see here, for instance, AWS Artifact. You see here is a portal that provides on-demand access to their compliance documents. And you can demonstrate and you can assure that AWS is providing the compliance. So when you say, am I a HIPAA compliant organization? Am I going to be PCI compliant organization? They have to set up those reports and they are abiding by it. So you can see here the idea of deploying SSL, and what does SSL stand for? Look it up, no? SSL. You can have, by the way, you can have a sheet for your exam. What's SSL? Right. And so basically what I'm able to do is a secure socket layer, my transport layer certificates are used to secure that my network communications are established for the identity to websites, because people are going to be hosting on the website. And then basically you can request a certificate for elastic load balances, or what they call distribution certificates. So Amazon has to abide by this. You can see here, fully managed cloud directory. Hardware-based key storage for regulatory compliance. So what they're able to do, this is amazing. You almost can have a whole course just on what AWS offers for security. Think about that. Because what are people saying is everybody says I want to do AWS, but guess what? When my data gets corrupted, they have to say what they've done, right? I met with it. So it says here, helps you meet corporate contractual regulatory compliance for data security by using dedicated security model appliances. And their cloud then helps control the encryption keys, cryptographic operation performing by their services. It's incredible when you think about it. They have managed Active Directory for Microsoft. Anybody hear about Microsoft's managed Active Directory, right? For when we're doing email and so forth, when we're doing networking. Guess what? Is AWS in competition with Microsoft? Yeah, but guess what? You have Microsoft premises. They're now saying, hey, we'll take care of Microsoft. This is killing Microsoft, right? But they're saying here, look at this. AWS Directory Service for their enterprise, right, enables you to directory aware workloads for their Active Directory. So they say, you're a Microsoft shop, we'll take care of you. And we'll take over you with your directory. Threat detection. Remember we talked about Amazon Guard Duty. So they're getting into the security business. For security business where? On the cloud. Right? It's bad enough. So basically you see that shift towards the cloud. And that shift towards the cloud, it means it's amorphous. So you have to think to yourself, well, who's taking care of it? I don't know what's happening. And you know that they're going to be more susceptible. But on the other hand, maybe that they're going to have to provide these services. So this is interesting. They even have another service called Guard Duty, which is a managed threat detection service that provides you, in this case, with a more accurate and easy way to continuously monitor and protect your accounts. With just a few clicks, Amanda begins analyzing, look at this, billions of events. Remember we talked about the event versus an incident. Event, something that just happens, right? Billions of events from multiple AWS sources. It uses threat intelligence feeds. So basically they're trying to use artificial intelligence, because what's the problem of getting all those transactions? Who can make sense out of it? Remember we had the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer from UM come by? And basically what it looks like they're doing is they have these people look at logs all day long. How can a person start looking at logs all day long and trying to find it? It's basically, this is where you're going to see the new technology go through this artificial intelligence, because no one's able to go through all these billions of logs. So what they've encountered now is using threat intelligent feeds, so they're going to look for things that look out of place as lists of malicious IPs and domains, machine learning, you see here, to detect threats more accurately. For example, can detect compromised instances serving malware or mining Bitcoin. How much has Bitcoin gone up this year? Huh? And a lot, 900%. Who's going to find out, the problem with Bitcoin, who controls that Bitcoin? So we have things like what they call smart contracts, or basically the rules built in. The rules are built in, but can you imagine what can happen then? And you're not insured. And you really don't know who, there's those contracts, but you don't know where you're not going to go to the FTC or the FTC here in the United States and get insurance. So they're basically mining coin. It can detect attackers probing your web servers for known application vulnerability and resources. Also checks your AW accounts for signs of compromise, such as unauthorized infrastructure deployments. When a threat is detected, Guard Duty sends you a detailed security look so you can take the steps to the threat. You can get intelligent threat detection. So all of this is going to machine learning. This is the future, the machine learning you can see there, and then they have Amazon Guard-based product. You get identity and access management. Remember we were talking about it? Inspector, automated security assessment that helps improve the security of applications. Everything automated that you're not going to do. Applications for vulnerabilities, management services, discover, classify, protect sensitive information. Uses machine learning again to automatically discover, classify, protect sensitive information. Recognizes sensitive information such as personally identified information, PII. Everybody hear about that? This is where you don't want to be hacked, right? Because it's your personal identification. Here they do identity theft. It's right there. So basically what they're trying to tell you here is they're going to be scanning that intellectual property, dashboards, alerts, visibility, saying who's touching my area. They don't do this. They're in big trouble too, Amazon. Think about it. They get hacked. We're talking about billions. I think centrally manage multiple accounts. You can see this manage distributed denial of service protection. So they become, you didn't even realize it, but they become one of the biggest security ventures. And when you look at even this guard here, where was that guard? And the inspector here helps the security, the compliance. And within this, you see here the Amazon production intelligent detection to monitor your AW accounts for malicious, look at this, or unauthorized behavior to help protect your accounts. So basically it's going to be strengthen your security, and then they show you how basically it works, continuously analyze intentionally. So this is where the improvements are going to come in here. I just wanted to show you all of that is in the ADON, in all those boxes. This is where you're really going to need these smart cybersecurity, and that's where we talk about machine learning, that it's going to keep, when it makes some kind of mistake, then it's going to go back and you're going to increase it more. Security, third-party intelligence, anomaly detection, and machine learning to detect it. And then reviewing, taking those actions and those triggers. So this is, I wanted to show you, this is where the future is. In Amazon and going back. So when you looked at the ASACO, when they look at what is, you can see here on the products here, You can see on the products here, this is where it is. On the security and compliance, you see here how many products, and they keep on having more. And then the machine learning, right, that you can do the machine learning. Look how many different ones they can do. Amazon Transcribe, right, automatic speech recognition, natural and fluent learning. You never think about this. Deep learning enabled video camera. It's kind of interesting, huh? Deep lens. Helps put deep learning in the hands of developers with programmable video camera, tutorials, pre-trained models, right? And then you can see here, get hands-on, a new way to machine learning. Sample projects, right? Custom built for deep learning. What's deep learning? What's deep learning? Basically what deep learning is trying to get the computer to gain insights. Trying to get the computer, not even, usually what traditionally has been machine learning is what we call supervised learning. Anybody know what that is? I give a hypothesis. I have data, right? Think about, easy one, fraud. Think about credit cards. Everybody knows credit card. Anybody ever get a call from a credit card that they think fraud on your credit card? Anybody ever get a call from any MasterCard, Visa?
They usually send you a text.
Huh?
They usually send you a text.
Text, right? Basically seeing, what are they doing? They basically are using machine learning or artificial intelligence to see what? That the patterns may be unusual for your buying habits. How do they develop those? Traditionally, they've developed it in what we call supervised learning. What does that mean? They take transactions from the past, and how many transactions do you think somebody like Visa or any of those have? 10, 20, thousands, millions, billions, right? They have billions of transactions. And what do they know? They know what were good, or what I call legitimate transactions. And what else do they know? They know what were fraudulent transactions, right? In the past. So they have a set of good ones, I'll call it, and transactions that were problematic. And they have a number of different characteristics in those transactions. So what they want to know is, I know what we're good and I want to know what we're bad, and what do they want to be able, for supervised training, it says, try to find out what are the unique characteristics of my, what, fraudulent transactions versus what? My good transactions. What was unique about that, right? And then once you have that, it trains it. This is supervised, meaning I know what the problems were in the past. I know what the good ones were in the past. I give it to the computer. I've divided it up by different attributes. Remember we talked about databases, those different attributes, and find for me what is unique about these fraudulent ones versus those. Now we as humans, after we do a number of times, you probably could think about it. What do you think some of the characteristics would be?
For credit card fraud?
Mm-hmm.
Location of where it was swiped?
So maybe the location different than what your location is. What else?
Unusual amount of money.
a unusual amount of money, unusual places that you've never been, right? There's a number of different ways. It may be that the first place it went to was a gas station for small amounts. Why is that? Because maybe it's easy just to see if that card has been filled, right?
You charge like $1.
Right, and also what is it? That I'm in the car, I can go away, I'm not facing another person that can grab it. It's not so easy to get my picture, right, when I'm in a place. So I know those problems. Once I have this, I train it unsupervised, and then this is training. And then what I do is I do testing. And what I usually do, depending in sampling on my testing, I'll then, after the training, take part of the data for testing and ask the machine then to test that data and tell me whether it was a fraudulent or a non-fraudulent transaction. But guess what? I know what it is. So I will know its what? Error rate. So let's say out of this, I know that 25% of this group, it was fraudulent, and this was 75% right, and it got, let's say, 80% correct. And then what happens in machine learning is what? It goes back and we highlight those, and we go back and say, no, you got it wrong almost, and this way it tries to learn and tries to, that's why they call it machine learning, it tries to reduce the errors. So maybe then what it will do is, anybody know like even in regression you have like beta weights for each of those attributes, it will then adjust some of those attributes and say maybe location is more important than the amount. Or maybe certain characteristics are more, and they'll go through this and they'll do this supervised testing over and over again. What deep learning is I give it unsupervised. I may give it data and say, go find me insights about that data that I didn't know before. Find me the diamonds in the rough. I didn't know that this was correlated, these connections. And it gives me insights that I didn't know before I had it. So this is done with machine learning. So you can see here on this one, this is interesting. What they're going to be doing here is AWS Deep Lens can stream video back to AWS using its video and apply more advanced video analytics using Amazon Rekognition Video. The device connects securely to AWS what? IoT. So that whole IoT business is going to be, has to be secured. Amazon then basically databases and more, and then it's going to be easily programmable deep learning models to run then familiar programming environments. So they're doing it on video. So why is that important? For video recognition. Now they use it for marketing. Basically, I pass by a billboard. They can see sentiment analysis. They can see whether I'm happy, whether I'm sad, whether basically facial recognition. Tell female, male. Now they're doing it in a way they can tell age. So for marketing, I can almost target. In some ways, it's kind of creepy, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That you can think about it, but all that media that's going with you is there that they can yourself, and then they start trying to do identification via video. Go search a video where you're looking for certain terms, and not only you're looking for words, but you're also looking for nuances. You're looking for meanings. You can use it for intelligence work, right? Can you imagine the idea where they had the NSA and so forth listening to all those telephone calls? I mean, people are jabbering, and you know they're not going to say, we're going to set off a bomb tomorrow at this location, right? It's all in code going to be, they're not going to be so stupid, right? So it's the idea now that they're going to do any of those trackings here based on a number of factors that are fully programmable. So this is this 10 minutes choose your deep learning model. So they're giving you models already. Look at this pre-trained model library, or your own models trained with, they have an Amazon. So they're now even providing some models. Watch the results in real time through in the sample projects is that you can build it. Look at this. Object detection. Accurately detect and recognize objects. And you think, what is the big deal? Classify your food as either hot dog or not a hot dog. You think for us, it's easy, right? But for them, it's really that computer. But think about it. It's not a hot dog, you know? Somebody who's suspicious, somebody who's not. This is what they're also complaining about in terms of privacy. Now there was even some research, did you see that? Not only on gender, but whether you were gay or not gay, you know, all that, you know, that you wanted to feed all that idea of gaydar and so forth. Well, now the whole idea, you know, and how insulting that was, right? Now all of a sudden there's some researchers saying, I can maybe even classify certain people. Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading that they're classifying criminals based on AI, like
yeah, I know.
recognition.
Right, but you know, they're doing here. But here you think it's kind of detective. These are like abilities here, but here, artistic style, transfer the style from one image, such as a painting, to an entire video script. These are like little things that they're doing that these models they're allowing you to do already, you know? Activity, recognize more than 30 kinds of actions, such as brushing teeth, applying lipstick. They're using a lot of this now for psychiatry in nursing homes. There's a new company here called Predict Care. They're going to sell it to nursing homes and others. So basically, being able to see when somebody brushes their hair, kind of like our signals for certain types of dementia. And also they're being able to, and then say brushing their teeth so many times in terms of supervising, to see also in signs of depression, certain activities, yeah.
It's like pretty cool because I'm in a machine learning class now.
Right.
And like basically like we're learning that like machine learning will soon diagnose people more accurately than doctors. Like there's been studies on it, and like the machine has like done better than doctors.
Right. Well, if you think about face recognition, you can think about, you know, there are even some things when you think about it, and we don't even know how to find it. Have you ever seen in certain diseases, even Parkinson's? Have you ever seen anybody, you know, even, what's his name, Fox, right, and it's Parkinson's. There's certain looks that people start having because of the dopamine relaxing in your brain, that you have almost like a stare. You know, it's not there. You almost can't even, and if I asked you, you could see it. You have two people, you probably as humans could recognize this one looks more alert than the other person, almost like that blank stare sometimes people have, or almost a depression. So you can think about those minor little things that people, that machines, if you could describe it, could even bring up precursors. That's what, you know, all the IBM Watson and so forth are being able to do. So physicians, everything's going to be disruptive. So basically, so you kind of think about it. So here their activities, and here detection you've seen already, right, in Facebook and other places that you're starting to have the face detection, but then you're seeing it. So they can be used as positive. So I could see there that maybe at this case, if this person was looking down, or many times on the precursor, people are being misdiagnosed because you didn't realize that one of the precursors for Parkinson is when you walk, you don't swing your arms as much. Right? That little gait kind of thing. So if you had that precursor, and if there were cures for some of these like little precursors here, that it could do an excellent job on. It's almost now they're even thinking about dogs. You know, dogs can detect sometimes cancer. You know, they've trained dogs so they have such a fine smell. So if you could think about it almost the machine learning of being able to detect it. My point here is once you have all this data, that this is here to stay, right? Part of it is, it's kind of interesting. See, they even have the camera status. You know, that all this camera work then pre-order, right? That you probably could do personalized medicine, you could do personalized, teaching, training, education needs, all of this needs to be disrupted, right? That you can know, so what are all these IoT devices, what's the security involved in it? It's enormous. And wouldn't it be, you know, the whole idea of these security, not only take my data, but take my identity? Making changes, right, that I can even bypass now. Because I didn't remember when the guy was talking about his voice detection for his security. Sometimes, you know, the problem is I'm a little hesitant because if my voice changes, you know, after I teach, you know how I'm always, you know, especially with how I'm always hoarse, right, after a while. So I sound different in the beginning of the semester than I do at the end of the semester. You know, so it's the idea. Now the computer won't recognize me. That's what I'm always worried about when they ask me, do you want voice over anything else? I said later on, if I'm a day of teaching, nobody can recognize me. So it's kind of interesting how they see, and these are kind of the ways in which now they're trying to build in the camera to try to train the camera to be intelligent. And then they have predetermined models, and then other people where it's going to be the growth here is they're going to have their own models developing, and then you'll have like a library of models for, is it medicine, is it for marketing purposes, emotions, you know, sentiment analysis, and then what they're going to take from me, and what's the security and what's my privacy aspect of that security people are doing. Okay, so what do we need? Are you ready for do you want to do a presentation?
Oh, sure.
Eduardo, what did you want to show?
It was on password, tools.
Okay, and you want me to go to Saka, or you want me to go to Blackboard or what?
Yes, please, Blackboard.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Blackboard. And under Blackboard, I'm gonna do what? I'm gonna go to Audit. And Eduardo, where do I wanna go? To your group?
Yes, and of course, yeah, of course.
What group are you? You're in
Group 4.
And where are you?
There's the very bottom.
I'm gonna go to the very bottom.
3.2.
Is 3.20 or 3.2?
3.20.
Okay, so what am I gonna see here?
Well, the very first, is that the very first slide?
This is what I see.
Yeah, that's using PW Dump, which
Okay.
is it's a tool to because your password is saved on your laptop, obviously, and it's got to be saved somewhere like that's encrypted. So what Microsoft does is saves it on something called a SAM file, which is your service account management, something like that, or security account management.
Okay.
So that file is you can't copy it. You can't. It's really hard to like. It's encrypted.
Okay. So you say here 128-bit encryption key. Okay.
So what PW Dump it pretty much takes the SAM file out of where it's saved, because it's saved under what is it? Systems 32, which is like your drive and your user, your name of the user, and then saved under Systems 32.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where your SAM file is, but you can't do anything with it unless you use PW Dump. Okay. Now, once you download this tool, you have to go to your your command prompt as an administrator.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
you want it's there.
That's where you go all the way to your drive. You see CD ... to go all the way back.
Right.
And then you upload. That's when you put up PW.
Okay.
Now, the thing with the book is the book said to use this other tool that does not work for Windows 10 at all.
Okay, so what did you use instead?
So instead I used, what's it called? It's right there. What's the name of it? Not OffCrack. We used, oh my God, I forgot the name. Holy crap. Doing Python all day.
Okay, so what, yeah.
I used another, what's it called? Could you go up a little bit? That's just it. Posting. What's it? Oh, it's like a really long name.
do,
called-
Eduardo, with yours,
Yes.
like I told everyone else, you're gonna have to make description on this, right?
No, yes,
So-
I remember that, it's just the
I
name
know,
of
but
it.
you name it, but for you to upload for your final version of your labs, you're gonna have a description of what you're saying now, right? So instead of just taking screenshots, pictures of this, right? Go ahead and capture it, put it into a file, and make descriptions of what's happening here. Of course, you're gonna do that, right? Not
Yes.
just gonna give screenshots.
Let's say, like, because I was using Offcrack for so long and it wasn't working it doesn't work
Okay.
for Windows 10.
Okay.
It's like.
So what did you use instead?
So it's called RT, it's a.
So you have to find out and you have to put it
I know
in.
the name, it's a really long
And
name.
so if you don't know, how are we supposed to know, right?
I will tell you right now. Password, tools.
So there's no way for us to know. Okay, so.
Okay, the
So
name
for-
of it is offline NT password and registry editor. Yeah. So what you do is after you go to that website that says Pogo Stick, and you download the version that says yes,
The pogostick.net?
yes, that's where you go,
Mhm.
and you download this and you download it on not the USB version but the CD version. That's where I messed up. It took me like a while to figure that out.
Okay, so you want them to put all these notes in your file,
Okay.
Eduardo, right? I appreciate you did it, but now you have to explain what you did.
Okay.
Okay, so for Monday, let's have not only the other ones, but have this one that you've, do it, so. Angela, do you wanna help them to document this, okay? So we can get this done for Monday. Monday, what I wanna do is I wanna spend time reviewing also for the exam, so I'd like you to spend much of your time that you can finishing up these, labs and documenting what you have, because it doesn't, just like you did it, right, and you don't even remember, so how are you gonna look at it in another week and remember anything?
To save, you want us to save it as a file, an item, or what do you want us to save it as when we put it in the?
You can say that it doesn't matter how you save it as a file or an item, but you need to put documentation between these slides here of what you have. Doesn't matter if you do an item or file. If you do, if you save it as
Okay.
item, you
I
can
got
do
it.
that, but respond, okay?
Okay.
And then basically, that's what section 6 is trying to talk about, is that security and implications, adoption of evolving, is maybe what would be interesting for you guys, is to look at some of this AWS. You can kind of see on how they're doing, especially on their security products. And all of their IoT that they're starting, right? It needs to be secured as well, so they're involved in it. And you can see here, all their mobile now is gonna be more susceptible. And look at this, all Internet of Things, right? You know, everything in the world could be reason, right? So it's the device management, devising all of this, connecting, right? Doing all the analytics. And this is doing like bots, and then they have here AWS to ITO device is fully managed, helps you secure your fleet of IoT devices. Continuously audits the security policies, make sure they aren't deviating from security practices. IoT Device Defender also lets you monitor devices for behavior that deviates from what was defined appropriate. Can you imagine in power plants? Can you imagine what can happen in electrical grids? Getting a bot. We don't need to have any more, and to me, that's much more dangerous. Why, from any type of terrorist activity, is getting to any of these grids than just shooting, some truck slamming into some bikers in New York City. Just bring down the whole grid, from these and what's gonna be here. So you can see here, because it's basically like on the other side, AWS IoT button is a programmable button based on hardware. This simple Wi-Fi device is easily configured for developers, right? So you can create these buttons and bring something down as well. Okay, so stay with me. You need to go back and improve that, Eduardo, in terms of giving the comments on it. At least now we know what, you've gotten the major part of trying to figure out what software you need to do. Now you just need to document it. So it's not a big deal, but now you can go back rather than saying, I'm not sure what I used and what was happening. Okay? And so you can see here is fully managed service here. Again, monitoring devices for behavior that deviates. And what's that gonna be? Again, that behavior analytics. Send out alerts, right? To determine, to device to take mitigating actions. Okay? So stay with me for further questions. Otherwise, I'll see you next week and we'll do a review and finish up the lab.
Great to meet you, my group.
That we don't have to waste, you know what I mean, that you can spend time studying rather than doing all the labs that they do on the 20th.
What is the exam?
Huh?
But
What
the
is
guy
the
did
exam?
like everything,
Yes.
like he did the PowerPoint and everything, so I guess we just need to talk about it.
Did you do the,
Okay.
how about the Python part?
No, I did that part.
Okay.
You just,
Was it, did you do much? Was it boring?
no, it wasn't
Thank
hard.
you.
It was just like homework, like the blast search and stuff.
No, yeah.
Everyone.
Bye, ciao. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.